62 degrees. A heavy, dense fog in the area. Drive with care. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Well, the world's number one golfer, Scottie Scheffler, has been booked, processed, and released. Prison bus dropped him off at Valhalla so he can play in the major today.
Did you see his mugshot? I mean, he had an orange jumpsuit on and like a V-neck so you can see some chest hair. And
He's gone from the choir boy of the PGA to the bad boy now. If I was him, I would wear the orange jumpsuit to play today.
Oh, my God.
Totally lean into it, man.
Sewing a collar there so you have a collared shirt still.
This is crazy.
Assaulting a police officer? What the heck happened?
Well, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because they said he stopped the car, he got out, he was immediately handcuffed, and the cop said to the ESPN reporters that were within shouting distance, he's going to jail. But maybe this was Scottie Scheffler AI. This wasn't really Scottie Scheffler.
Oh, so you're thinking that this is all AI generated?
It could be. You know, it's hard. So. This could be a metaverse thing. You know, I can't keep track of all this. This is going to be rather than my evil twin did it. Now it's going to be my AI did it. Oh. It's interesting because actually Sam Altman, who is the 11-year-old CEO of OpenAI, he was asked recently about this idea of personalized AI companions of the future being used in court against the actual person. Listen to this exchange. It's fascinating. Now there's a fail-safe on this of sort, but just listen to this exchange. It's mind-bending.
I can imagine this future in which, if you want, you have a personalized AI that knows, that has read every email, every text, every message you've ever sent or received, has an access to a full recording of your life, knows every document you've ever looked at, every TV show you've ever read, everything you've ever said or heard or seen, like all of your bits of input in and out. And you can imagine that would be a super helpful thing to have. You can also imagine the privacy concerns that would present. And I think if we stick on that frame and not say, well, should AI be able to train on this data or that data, but how are we going to navigate the privacy versus utility versus safety trade-offs or security trade-offs that come with that? And what does it even mean? Do we need a new definition of privileged information so that your AI companion never has to testify against you or can't be subpoenaed by a court? I don't even know what the problems are going to be.
I mean, could you imagine? He's a really sharp guy. He actually is asking all the right questions, but I just love the idea that, I call Dan Proft AI to testify against Dan Proft. Of course, there's there is a safeguard against that. Only human beings have standing in court, despite what PETA wants. To have killer whales have standing in court. Only human beings do. So that's not likely to happen. But I mean, it does speak to this uncharted territory we are now in. Speaking of OpenAI, which is the company that I mentioned, Sam Altman is the CEO of, they have just rolled out GPT 4.0, new flagship model, which can reason across audio, vision, and text in real time. And here's a little demonstration by somebody at OpenAI.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there. It's going great. How about you? I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling, though? Are you in a cool industry-style office or something?
Well, can you take a guess at what I might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video or maybe even a live stream.
Yeah. In fact, we've got a new announcement to make.
That's exciting. Announcements are always a big deal. Judging by the setup, it looks like it's going to be quite the professional production. Is this announcement related to OpenAI, perhaps?
It is. And in fact, what if I were to say that you're related to the announcement, or that you are the announcement?
Me? The announcement is about me? Well, color me intrigued. Are you about to reveal something about AI? Or more specifically about me as a part of OpenAI? You've got me on the edge of my, well, I don't really have a seat, but you get the idea. What's the big news?
Yeah, we've got a new model that can interact with the world through audio, vision, and text.
I mean,
I'm scared now.
The way that the AI talks to him, like flirtatious and so conversational, it's wild. There's competitors, obviously, in this space. So Google just provided a demo of its multimodal AI assistant on your phone, augmented with reality glasses. And you really have to see the demo, but it's fascinating. They basically just have a phone scanning an office space, and then this conversation. Justin, play that, will you? Do we have that?
Do we have it?
Okay, let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AES-CBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, ID.
That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
All right, that's good. I mean, it's really wild. In addition to the sapience, the sentiency of AI, it's you can understand why it's both exciting and scary at the same time. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Frank Diana. He's principal futurist at Tata Consultancy Services. He writes at frankdiana.net. Frank, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, those are some exciting demonstrations of the development of AI technology. I mentioned, I think Sam Altman is asking the right questions about these trade-offs between competing goods. What's your perspective on where AI is and what the question, in addition to maybe what Altman presented, what are some of the questions we should be asking ourselves?
Well, first, I love the fact that you use the term mind-bending, because that's clearly where we find ourselves today. The examples you showed, and we can answer that, because what you described, when it's embedded in a humanoid robot, actually expands the possibility space. Now you've got humanoid robots that can operate in unstructured environments, because as you could see from those clips you shared, they know what their environment is. They can sense what they have to do in that environment. So it's going to expand. And as it expands, that mind-bending notion is going to get more intense. And so, yes, we need to start thinking about where historically, when we've been in periods like this, they've traditionally always gone in two directions, a very positive direction for society and a somewhat negative direction. And so it's really incumbent upon society to manage the past, because there are so many positive things that these innovations can lead to in the health space and just a number of different domains. And then obviously when you start thinking about bias and privacy and some of the things that we have to be worried about, there's that path as well. So one of the things I like to think about is, where are we as a society? Can we manage this path? And there's a lot of questions underlying that.
Well, I mean, this is if this goes sideways, this isn't like the laser disc. This is so infinitely more powerful that the potential pitfalls are essentially bottomless, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, we are in a phase where we really have no historical precedent to look at. Yes, we can make some comparison, but the potential is much more vast today. That both, again, in the positive context and the negative, the possibility space is endless.
Well, and I don't look at like some of these guys like Sam Altman. I don't think he's some sort of evil genius, and he's probably a genius in this space. But I think he's well intended, but that's not going to be good enough. Asking the right questions, yes, and then thinking about the guardrails. And I know there's been debate that is ongoing about sort of international rules of the road versus a country by country regime. Well, how should we be thinking about guardrails? Where should we have discussions at least about lines being drawn?
Well, I think it starts with high-risk areas. So any discussion around policy, guardrails, regulation really starts with those high-risk areas. And I mentioned a couple, like the biases in privacy, et cetera, that we need to focus on. But we have to accept that we're in a period of great uncertainty and things are evolving rapidly, which means that any approach we take has to be thoughtful and it has to be adaptive, flexible in regards to knowing that the change is happening rapidly. So I just don't believe we're at a place where anything definitive can happen because it is going to change so aggressively.
Well, is the government or any entity overseeing this growth?
Well, that's the big issue, right? There's no real, no central authority that can actually govern this. Let's look back to the post-World War II era when we saw a big problem and we created institutions that have, at least to date, helped us manage that problem. But we don't have that today, right? And so my big concern is the fragmentation in approach. One block in the world goes in one direction, another block goes in a different direction, right? You can't solve those challenges unless you've got something that is a global body that governs.
Maybe the answer is sort of right in front of us and we don't see it. Maybe the answer is just apply the constitutional guardrails to AI like we do to actual human beings, such that, you talk about biases. Well, if you allow for a competitive marketplace and if Google's AI wants to provide stilted information from a particular political point of view, for example, well, then there's opportunities for somebody else to provide a competing AI that plays it closer down the middle or that provides a conservative lens, just like a media outlet, on information that is of a political or historical nature, just to use that one sector as an example. Maybe it's just to look at this through the restraints on government that we have as enshrined in our Bill of Rights and the rights and responsibilities contained in the rest of our founding documents.
Yeah, it's an approach. I think the bigger challenge, though, is let's just say that scenario you just described plays out. The misinformation, disinformation, deep fakes, the potential to just completely undermine trust in society is a real challenge. Another one of those high-risk areas that really needs attention. So, yeah, we can use the Constitution to kind of manage this, but I just think the opportunity for disinformation is so high today that it's a challenge in and of itself.
Well, what about the issue that concerns a lot of people as well, as you're seeing this come online in retail environments, job displacement?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just in terms of addressing that, I mean, is the sort of wide range of estimates about X% of jobs in this particular industry are going to be obsolete, at least in terms of obsolete for human beings. I mean, is the scale such that some of these predictions about revolutionary changes in particular industries that eliminate significant portions of the human workforce, are those realistic?
Well, I think more realistic than any time in the past. But I just find it all to be guesswork. There's just so much uncertainty in terms of where all this is going that it's very difficult for anyone to really predict the implications to jobs. There's a polarized discussion that goes on, right? Many people believe that historical precedent says we've been here before and we always come out of it better than we were prior, right? But that was a very different time. People kind of leave out the part about years and years of human misery that was in place before we came out on the other side. right? So it's hard to predict and project, but that scenario I just gave you in terms of humanoid robots accelerating on the back of these generative AI platforms is going to bring humanoid robots into this mix. And so now jobs that you might not have considered being displaced are likely to be displaced at some point, right? And so those are just scenarios at this point. It's just rehearsing a future. It's not predicting that future.
It's as long as radio talk show hosts are protected. I mean, that's, I think, the most important thing for all of us.
No guarantees for anything.
I think we can agree on that. And who do you think, if you have perspective on this, of the competing big tech companies, who and tech entrepreneurs, who do you think is doing it best right now? Is there anybody that you say you should watch? Sam Altman at OpenAI or the guys at Google or whoever.
No, I don't know that I really have a perspective on that in terms of who's doing it best, because I think they're all dealing with the same challenges, right? It's at this point, I hate to use the term arms race, but that's what it is, in effect, that they're all one-upping one another. And I think the pressure and the funding being thrown at this to continue to move it is just accelerating things even more. So I just don't think there's a good answer to that question.
Frank Diana's principal futurist says Tata Consultancy Services, writes at frankdiana.net. Frank, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel. Home to the biggest shows on TV, like Dennis Prager, weekdays at noon Eastern, followed by Jay and Jordan Sekulow at 2. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth